What's not fun? We got some commitment drama, recruitment drama coming up next year on Locked On Sooners.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks again for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So the Oklahoma Sooners quarterback commit Jaden O'Neal reportedly visited UGA spring practice on Monday, according to Steve Wiltfong and one of the Georgia guys over there at On3. A little bit discouraging, man. I'm a big Jaden O'Neal fan. I think he's got a ton of talent. I think the ceiling is really, really high for this kid. And we know about the Bowe Bentley pursuit. Oklahoma is trying to also bring in Bowe Bentley, trying to add a second quarterback. Just seems like this one might be trending to where Jaden O'Neal might be exploring these other options pretty seriously at this point.
Yeah, and I totally understand it, right? Like, Oklahoma's plan is to take two quarterbacks in this class, and it's more so the economics behind it. Looking at the fact that they have, with John Mateer, if he is what we believe that he could potentially be, there's a chance that he's gone at the end of the year. Cole Gonzalez is gone. So that's two quarterbacks already gone. You bring in Jaden O'Neal, you got Jet New, and you got Michael Hawkins. Now, your options are to go get yourself a, serviceable quarterback out of the portal, or why not just have two freshmen who will, honestly, in the economics and financially when it comes to the cap, will be a heck of a lot better to have up front in comparison to try to get a guy to transfer in that most likely doesn't have a path to play. I mean, we lost Brendan Zerbrook specifically because of that. Now he's at Utah, and there's probably a good chance that Zerbrook gets a chance to play there because I think he's super talented as well. But Oklahoma's goal is to make sure you have at least 4 quarterbacks in the pantry, maybe 5. And it's not that easy to get guys to stick around, especially with the roster limits. You can only have so many, so you're going to have to figure out how to adjust things. But for Oklahoma in this situation with Jaden O'Neal, I get that their mindset is, okay, you're going after another quarterback. We want to make sure that you're as committed to us as we are to you. But we're also going to, we're going to see what other options are out there just in case you decide that, we're just going to go ahead and go one quarterback and do something different. I don't know that, the feeling is, Jaden O'Neal mentioned that in an interview that, they were pretty shocked that they were informed that they were getting another quarterback and then the offer went out. But then, the conversation, kind of tied things over. But also, Jaden is here in Oklahoma now. He's playing at Mustang. So to me, the biggest fear that people have is that he's about to decommit. I'm going to tell you no. I'm going to say that that's not what's going to happen. And that's just in conversations I've had with him and his people. I don't expect any type of decommitment unless Oklahoma tells him, hey, we're going to go ahead and move on. Now, when Bowe Bentley commits, if he does commit to Oklahoma, there may be a clock that goes, but I don't expect to see anything in between the two. I do expect Oklahoma to really pursue and push and get 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those things like you're as talented as a kid as Jaden O'Neal. You're being pursued by a lot of top programs. Again, Georgia, like Kirby Smart coming after you. You've got something to bring to the table. How much do you want to, I don't want to say share the spotlight, but share the attention, I guess, and maybe that's not even the best word phrasing either, but how much do you want to feel appreciated and feel pursued? And, it's like if you're going after a girl, how's she going to feel if you decide, hey, actually, I'm going to start talking to this other girl too? Not great. And it's different. It's not apples to apples comparisons, but there's something to that, right? Like,
yeah,
if you're the top target at the position, it's understandable why you might feel like, okay, maybe I need to make sure I have options elsewhere if this isn't going to work out. He committed to a completely different offensive coordinator. It's not unlikely to see some transition when there's a new offensive coordinator in place. That's just kind of the way things go. And I think that's why we saw Ben Arbuckle bring in Jet New. That's why we've seen the pursuit of Bowe Bentley. It's okay. He has his own vision as well. And respect to Ben Arbuckle. He's done a great job with quarterbacks. He's allowed to have that as well. It's just kind of a bummer that maybe Jaden O'Neal is not part of the class. Moving on to a Rivals Future cast that was put in for one Evanson Malaska, the Bethany High School product. He's listed as an athlete. He's one of those guys you could play on either side of the ball, and I would be just fine with because he's just a dynamic football player.
Yes. Nice little corner. Like I say, he's listed as an athlete. Know he's going to play corner just like his brother, Jocelyn Malaska, who's already here, transferred in from Utah. And I think he's fine as far as talent. He's not really ranked by anybody as of yet, still young. Once he start hitting camps and start going places, I think that you may see him shoot up the ladder, or if he has an exceptional season. Sometimes you got to just go find the diamonds in the rough when it comes to talent. And the good thing is that when the crystal ball came down from Sam Spiegelman, this is now after, Jim Nagy's got an opportunity to see people. Like, Nagy is here now, and he's really running things on the recruiting. You see him scouting his own players, and he was scouting heavy at the future freaks. That was one thing I saw one of the insiders make mention of, is that you knew that Nagy was meeting people. He was paying attention to them. He was seeing how the players moved, and he's looking at their measurables, probably starting to look at tape. So to me, what it seems like is now Nagy has an opportunity to decide what makes sense on who to get and what not to get. That even includes Jaden O'Neal. Nagy's going to try to find the players that makes the most sense for the team based upon all the criteria that both of them come up together. And so I like that Alaska, is getting CB'd here, get the crystal ball, the prediction future cast to Oklahoma, because I always have the OK Prep agenda going, because as you get more and more talent here, there's years where we have 5 stars. There's years we have very high 4-star players. I mean, your Danny Okoye's of the world's a great example of that, right? You want to be able to land those players and keep them home and not allow other schools to snatch them up. I like the idea that we're going to continue to do that and get more players out of Bethany, because when we talk about tomorrow, we got to talk about a couple positions, and one of them is Cheetah, and there's a kid from Bethany there that has been lighting things up.
Yeah.
Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, that's one of those we got to talk about. Taylor Heim for sure, but with with Evanson, like, he's such a interesting player to watch, because you look at the size and you think, okay, he plays cornerback, but you watch him play cornerback, and I highly recommend everybody go watch his huddle. He plays physical, like he will come up and pop a kid, and that's really fun to watch. Like, kind of reminds me a little bit of Gentry Williams, right?
Yes.
Someone that plays with a little bit of an edge. And then when I was talking about earlier that put him on the offensive side of the ball, I don't care. The dude moves really, really well with the ball in his hands. Like, he could be a potential punt returner for you, because he's just really good with the ball in space. He can make guys miss in the open field, got good speed. Just really, really like the kid. He's unrated anywhere you look, basically. But don't let that fool you. There have been a lot of good players that were unrated. Remember, Ryan Foje was unrated at one point in time.
Yep. And I remember people laughed at me when I got excited about him at 3-star when I talked about his footwork and the way he can move. I'm like, I think that he's just underrated. I don't think people are paid attention to him. And then sure enough, right afterwards, John, he became number 10 in the country.
Yeah. When Bill Bedenbow offered him, he was not rated by anybody. So anyway. So that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Sooners. Thanks so much for tuning in, being a part of the show. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. So hit that subscribe button and that notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. Follow Jay at Unfair Sports. Go check him out at Unfair Sports on YouTube. Follow me at John 9 Williams. You can read my work covering the Sooners over at SoonersWire.com. You can follow the show on all your favorite social media platforms at Locked On Sooners. Go check out the Locked On College Basketball podcast with Andy Patton and Isaac Shade, getting you ready for everything that's going to go down in March Madness, getting your brackets ready so you're not getting busted in the Tournament of 68. Locked On College Basketball is available wherever you get your podcast. But until next time, he's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. We'll talk to you then. Boomer.
Sooner.